I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Abhijit Naskar. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I'm very well, thank you, Angel. And it's a beautiful time, although it's right now at dawn. So
Yeah, you get to be in front, right? That's good.
Exactly.
That's good. Well, Abhijit, please do tell us which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time.
Well, you see, Angel, I don't think the term itself is such a fuse. It's kind of childish, though, because it implies a kind of like you have to justify what you do with the very term. Although I can tell you what I do. I'm a scientist, and I work basically on understanding the human mind and how we all work. Basically, what makes us tick.
Yeah. Yeah, the question is an amazing question, though. I love the fact that there are so many various interpretations on a question. It's fascinating to me, the different ways our mind interprets a question. For me, I'll say the question actually means, for me, again, it differs for different people, but for me, it means that you've been doing something in your life that has been thing that has allowed our paths to cross at this particular point in time, which for me is super fascinating. Just the mere fact that I'm able to hear you. You're in India, right?
Yes.
To hear you at the drop of the sound of my voice and you hear me at the drop of the sound of my voice, to me is absolutely fascinating. So it's really a constructed question, if you would. Does it make sense?
Of course it does. Basically, so the question is what made our paths cross.
Exactly. Well, it's hidden, right? So it's like, which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time? So, yeah. Well, I'm glad that you solved the puzzle.
Well, I'm not yet able to solve the big puzzle that what makes us tick, but I can tell you what made us connect. That is the similar interest that we both have for connecting with people and sharing our views and thoughts. I wouldn't call it views because my work itself, the word views has not much implication. So basically, how we think and how we talk, how we behave with other people. So that we have in common, I believe.
Our love for humanity, right?
Hope so, at least.
So who did you learn that skill from? Who did you learn what you've done from?
Right at this very moment, I guess I'm learning from you, and I'm learning from every single person I meet. And I didn't have any specific mentor because I'm a scientist, but not. I didn't go through all the academia and stuff. I'm a self-taught scientist, which means I trained myself and I learned everything through every person. I study humans, which means every single human I meet, they can teach me anything. So I'm basically like a sponge who can gather all the information that I can get from the environment.
So now that you've been doing that, I'm guessing that there may be challenges or have had challenges. You could tell me no or yes to that. But if there were challenges, why will you continue to repeat these skills nevertheless?
When you see something, I don't think it's when you're actually clear-sighted enough, when you see, not just believe or think what's right and wrong, you simply see. I think the very conflict, the duality that one has in the mind, it disappears. Of course, there were challenges. There would be challenges in anybody's life. Those challenges make the pursuit itself valuable. And so it's about the pursuit. If it adds value to your own life, to the society, but more importantly, if it makes you a better person, then it's totally worth it.
Which brings us to the podcast that you've been doing. Well, the two podcasts, right? Tell us a bit more about those.
The podcast itself, Well, yes, my first podcast is Consciousness with Naskar. That's the main one that I have. It's connected to my work I have written so far on various issues, basically on the human mind. And I'm working right now on my 31st book. So I have already published like 30 books. So basically on that, so understanding the human mind, that's why I started the podcast, to share with people and listeners every single insight that we can gather from various fields of biology, philosophy, psychology, every single one of them. And then comes another one that is I started recently, which is Nature Naskar Neurons. It's basically same kind of stuff, only brief version, which means the episodes are not so long.
How does that impacted your life doing that podcast?
It is basic, as I told you, that my focus itself, not specifically on the podcast, it's about the content that we create, and it's about sharing the information that we have about the human mind from our fields of neuroscience and psychology, which can help people. And as we can see that people all over the world have very little time even to understand themselves, to pay attention to their own life, their own family. So the second podcast is just to make that time, which means whatever little time they can gather, so make it useful. And it's we're going pretty well. Although I'm right now focusing on the first, that is my original podcast, which is Consciousness with Naskar.
All right. Well, Abhijit, tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
Writing, a lot of writing. Podcast is basically like a bridge between people and me. But my main work, which is for all my science and philosophy, is shared with the world through my writing. So as if right now, before we started talking, I was just writing and started another chapter of my next book.
So this is book number 32 you're going on right now.
It's book number 31st, that is.
31st, okay. How does it make you feel looking back at what you have created by doing 30 books?
I have evolved a lot. A person cannot really stay rigid. I mean, when I first published my first 5 books, that is, on the human mind, they were more empirical. I mean, very rigid on the science and stuff. More information and less, let's just call it less emotion. I'm not afraid to say. So, but slowly it evolved into my literature of science changed into a fusion of science, philosophy, humanism all together. So the evolution is consistent, and I guess I think it is very much necessary for the evolution of the individual, that a human individual should be always willing to change no matter what, and also admitting all the mistakes and everything that he or she has done. Doesn't have to be ashamed or afraid, just admitting it, then move on and learning whatever he or she can from that mistake.
Why would you suggest to someone that's listening that they do what you've done by applying those principles to your life?
I would not suggest at all that is what people should do, what I do. People should do what they love to do, whatever they feel good about, they love, and anything that makes them better, anything in which they see themselves. Because in today's world, people are focusing more on skills and acquired skills and talents and these kind of words, but they are actually forgetting about focusing within, which means something every human being has innate, something every human being is good at. If that something can be found or discovered and then nourished, then any human being can be something great.
Amazing audience, you're hearing it live here from Abhijit Naskar. Again, he is the podcast host by 2, right? Author of 30, coming 31 books. You could definitely connect with him via the podcast. Where else would you like to let people connect with you, Abhijit?
I have a blog that is I very frequently write on there too, which is on WordPress, that is naskarism.wordpress.com. And that is the blog that I write quite frequently, even perhaps recently more frequently than my podcast. So it is more active.
All right. Well, Abhijit, let's switch gears for a moment now and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water.
Sounds.
Abhijit, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My introduction into science, it's about my cousin, whom I don't see anymore. He introduced me to this kind of torch, like a flashlight that he made. And it was pretty interesting and exciting. I saw that kind of stuff made just by hand for the first time. I guess that was my introduction to science in the first place. So that's pretty significant.
Wow. So how old were you?
I don't exactly remember, perhaps 7 or 6.
How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today, Abhijit?
It's greatly connected. I was not interested or perhaps not yet introduced to the fascinating realm of how things work, and because the mind is basically, we can say, a computer, but in a more complex, multiple times more complex ways. So understanding computers, you can understand how brilliantly the mind is wired at a neurological level. So it's quite fascinating. So that introduction into electronics eventually led to various phases of my life and led to this point.
Oh, I love how you connected it. Well, Abhijit, if we fast forwarded to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
12 years old. At that time, I didn't have internet at all,
right?
And I didn't have any means. So I was born in Calcutta and not in a middle class family. So we didn't have so much introduction to the Western culture yet.
Right.
So at that time, all I listened to, that is my native tongue, my mother tongue, which is Bengali, and the Indian language is Hindi, of course. So I listened to a lot of Hindi and Bengali music, but I don't remember exactly any particular song.
Okay. All right. I thought we would have gotten one song in Hindi. Oh.
I don't know. I guess I can remember one. I don't remember exactly when was it.
Right.
Do you know the movie is called The Dead Poets Society?
I do not.
It's by Robin Williams.
Right.
So they made a remake in Bollywood, that is in Hindi. It's called Mahabate,
right.
Which means something like with love or something.
All right.
It has a nice song, like I don't exactly know.
Yeah. So it's the theme song for that movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Wonderful. Love it. All right, Abhijit. Well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Abhijit, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Rest of the humanity.
Are you married?
No.
Do you have children?
No.
Do you believe in God?
I met it.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
The entire species.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Yes.
What about screen time? The phone and or the computer, is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
If I'm not sleeping, I guess I'm writing in front of my computer. So yes, more.
Abhijit, if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Abhijit Naskar, what would you say that is?
I met God, as you guys said, but to me, more important gods are the humans. So that would be it.
Abhijit Naskar, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
It's this simple. If somebody loves something to do, anything that makes them feel good about themselves, and that's the thing that they should do, beyond every doubt and every confusion and every criticism.
Abhijit Naskar, great pleasure. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
It was a pleasure being with you, Angel.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.